Hi, we're live. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2020. And Larry's with us. We were waiting for Rosie wanted to participate in the program today, and we didn't think you needed to hear her barking. So we waited till she quieted down before we hit live. So take it away, Larry.
Okay, hello folks. Well, today, the Democrats pulled off their vote for impeachment, turning it over to the Senate. In case y'all didn't see it, several things happened. How many of you noticed the things I noticed? Let me tell you what I saw.
Well, Larry, before you tell us, I'm going to guess because I knew she was going to talk about we're defending the Constitution and doing what's right for the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get to hear. I just couldn't tolerate listening to her, so I didn't watch. But I would guess that's what she said.
Well, y'all should have known that was going to be a piece of the subject or part of the thing they were doing. Reason being, I have told y'all since probably the first day we all met that whatever they say, it's the opposite. And so when they're coming out, all of them talking about how the only reason they're doing this is to protect and defend this beautiful Constitution we have, this incredible Constitution. And today, she referred to us as a republic. Oh my God. We weren't a democracy today. No, ma'am. We were a republic. And she even went so far as to quote Benjamin Franklin, saying, "You've got a republic if you can keep it." It was all Constitution, all about protecting the Constitution, the sanctity of our Constitution, the beauty of our Constitution, which, in political speak, Washington speak, means they're trashing the Constitution. That's all they're doing, folks. They are trashing the Constitution. They're trashing it. So, of course, if they're trashing it, they're going to say they're defending it. Then they threw down the gauntlet. Oh, did they put out a stern warning to the Republicans in the Senate. Did y'all catch that? Yes. If the Senate votes to dismiss, the Republicans vote to dismiss the trial, it's a cover-up. And every time Pelosi said if they vote to dismiss the trial, she always made the point to say it's a cover-up. That's their new buzzword. Whenever you say dismiss the trial, you're to connect in your mind. It's a cover-up. They're covering up for Trump. And then Nadler comes on and says that they have absolute proof. The proof is overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming, supporting the articles of impeachment. Wow, was today the day of lies? And it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. another trick. Did y'all catch it? Did you? It had to do with their appointing their representatives, the 5 or 7, however many representatives that are going to make their case in the trial in the Senate. Did you catch that trick? It's a pretty good one. They included Nadler and Schiff. Now, they had an all-star cast, supposedly, of these prosecutors. But then they had Nadler and Schiff. Why? They believe that if Nadler and Schiff are called upon to testify, that they will not testify because they are prosecutors. So therefore they can't be called on to testify. Isn't that a slick trick?
Wow, that's an incredible trick.
I'm telling you, these guys are warmed up, buddy.
They're what?
Ready.
They're what?
They are warmed up. They are ready. They are ready to put President Trump out of office. They intend to go for the jugular. And if that fails, they intend to drag it out, as we've discussed here. Their fail-safe, the worst case, they'll drag it out and have it still going on during the election. Think about it.
Do you think Pelosi will go down in history with Hitler alongside him?
No, I don't. As of yet, Pelosi has not slaughtered millions of human beings. She's destroyed a lot, but she hasn't slaughtered them. So even she will not achieve that level of dastardly. And there's a chance, Mary Ellen, she goes down as a hero. Remember, to the victor goes the spoils. The victors write the history. So if they win, they become heroes. They become legends. Yes, they do. But as we talk about this, we are actually making the same mistake they are. The very same mistake. This is not about them. This is not about Pelosi. To be honest, it's not even about President Trump. This is about us. Today, I had told Mary Ellen before the call, today, when I saw her and seeing what's going on today, unfortunately knowing the things I know, that old fear cropped back into me. You see, folks, we're getting ever closer to something I have not even wanted to talk about. And those of you that have been with this program for a while know I don't like even talking about it. I don't even like people calling in or chatting in questions about it. But today, I don't think we can deny it. We're getting closer and closer to war in the streets of this country. We really are. We really are. Mary Ellen pointed out, what did you say about Bernie Sanders and what was said about his people if he lost, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, Project Veritas put out a video this week of Bernie Sanders, somebody working the Bernie Sanders campaign in Iowa, saying that if Trump wins in November, they will be doing major violence everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't scare me. Did y'all know that? That doesn't scare me. You wanna know why? Bernie Sanders supporters, the millennials, I guess you would say, some of the millennials, certainly not all, they're young, generally, and they believe in a cause. They believe we should be socialist, or whatever they want to call it, democratic, socialist, whatever. But for them to get riled up and commit violence, they won't. Now, there will be some, George Soros, I'm sure, will be able to pay the Antifa types to go out and cause trouble. But they don't scare me. Because in my life I have seen where people aren't generally willing to die for a cause. Or they'll destroy property, yes. They'll throw water on the cop, or worse, maybe. They don't commit to die for that cause. The ones I'm worried about are us. And I'm not talking about the loud ones that y'all been hearing all this time, talking about how they're going to get their guns and they're going to do this, that, and the other. Not that people, not that group of people either. I'm talking about the average one of us, the average just American. The average American that has children, grandchildren, love this country, appreciate what this country has meant to them, their families. That's what I'm worried about. Because when it comes to the point that this group of people I'm referring to, which is us, folks, which is all of us, when it gets to the point that we realize that we've lost our country and our children and grandchildren are going to have to suffer the consequences. That, my friends, is the group that will die to get it back. Every one of us here will die I've said before on other programs, this is not a football game. This is not even a Super Bowl. Because in a Super Bowl, if you lose, you can always say, well, we'll come back again next year and do better. We'll try again. There won't be no next year. We lose this time, there ain't no next time. We have to win. Get ready. You're going to suit up for this supposed Senate trial. We're going to have work to do if McConnell goes forward with the Senate trial. We're going to have work to do. Because as I have told y'all, the plan that I know about from McConnell, if it gets to the trial state, if they don't summarily dismiss it, when it gets down to witnesses testifying or new evidence being brought in, McConnell's answer is going to be that he will just call for a vote. And if 51 senators vote not to let somebody testify, they won't testify. Or if the 51 senators vote that that testimony or that evidence is not to be allowed, it will not be allowed.
Can I interrupt? What is...
If senators vote to take evidence or to take testimony, then they will testify. Yes. What?
This sounds to me like a great chance to stab President Trump in the back, because they could shut down, could they allow the Democrats' witnesses and then shut down Trump's?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They can do anything they want. It just takes 51 senators to do anything they want to do. Now, if you understand that, 51 senators. So if the Democrats want to bring a witness in, like Bolton, even though President Trump will exercise his executive privilege, but just to force him to testify, they will ask for him to be able to be allowed to testify. And unless 51 senators say no, then he will be allowed to testify. You get it? 51 senators must say no, or he's allowed to testify. Now, connect that with what Pelosi and Schumer and Nadler and all of them do today. They're pressing the Republicans that if they block, for example, Bolton from testifying, if they vote not to let him testify, guess what? Some of them are in the middle of an election year. And they are going to be said and claimed by the media, by the Democrats, that they are covering up for Trump, that they're part of the cover-up. And believe me, that's going to weaken a lot of Republican soft ones. Not to mention the ones that are anti-Trumpers anyway. If nothing else, it gives them an excuse to flip. Now, I'm not as much worried, Mary Ellen, about if they allow a Democrat witness to testify and that they might not let a defense or a Trump witness testify. I'm not worried about that so much. But I am worried about them bringing in people to testify, to start it all over again, and especially to bring in new evidence. Like this Parker stuff, how he pronounced his name. meeting with Giuliani wrote on a little cafe doily a message. He was to get hold of the president of Ukraine and ask him about, I think the matter was the word. Well, that can mean anything. But today I hear the Democrats saying that he actually said get hold of the president and make sure he was going to do the investigation into Biden. Now let's get it very, very clear. Biden was participating in quid pro quo, he and his son. So the president had every right to have him looked into in Ukraine. Every right legally. But as you know by now, that don't mean much to the Democrats. That certainly means nothing to the media. And it will get skewed to where it looks like he's guilty. That bothers me. That bothers me greatly. But we are facing the beginning of the end. We've been in, so that you know, the beginning of the beginning of the end. The end times for this country. But we're not in the beginning of the beginning anymore. We're starting the beginning of the end. If we don't stand up and activate and engage. I hope you hear me. Now, Ellen, if there's any questions, give them to me, and folks, start getting your questions in. And if I can, I'll answer them. I will tell you all this. I am privileged to be in a position to have information relative to the trial, both the pre-trial, during the trial, and I will pass on that which I'm able to do. But I will see to it that you are not left out in the cold and having only to believe what you can get and glean through the media. You have my word on that. Now, what do you got, Mary Ellen, if anything?
Yes, I've got several questions. How is it that the Democrats are going to have 7 managers, and how can they separate out Nadler and Schiff so that they don't get questioned?
Well, I don't know that they have, I don't know that the Republicans can absolutely block them from testifying, but they are going to try to block them from testifying by saying that they're managers, therefore they cannot testify. The fact that they're members of the prosecution team may be grounds, as they will bring it forward, that they can't testify. And the only way to break that down would be to take it to court. And they know if they go to court on any issues of somebody testifying, it just drags this thing out longer and longer. Remember, Trump loses. If at any time a witness denies to testify and they're forced to take it to court, any delay waiting on the courts benefits the Democrats and hurts Trump. What else?
Would that make it better for Bolton to go ahead and testify?
Bolton will not testify. Bolton said he would testify. As far as he's concerned, he would testify, that he will not be allowed to testify by President Trump because of executive privilege. He was a member of the president's cabinet. And President Trump, if for no other reason than to protect future presidents, is not going to allow his cabinet level people to be forced to testify. He's not going to. Because if he does, precedent will be set for every future president. And when that happens, every future president is not going to be able to have cabinet people and talk to them openly and freely, because anything they may say in private is subject to being brought out. So he can't let him testify. He can't. Not just for himself, but for the integrity of the office. Look, they've already ruined the president of the United States, both this one and future presidents, being able to talk openly in private to leaders of foreign countries. Because this case has proven that whatever they say in private conversations may show up to the whole world. It's not good.
Okay, here's a good,
Not good.
yeah. Here's a good question about Roberts, Chief Justice, because somebody is suggesting because he's compromised, can he recuse himself, and then who would take his place?
Well, I don't think he will recuse himself. Somebody would have to explain to me why he is compromised. I'm not saying he's not. I just don't know a reason that he would be compromised. I mean, other than the fact that since his appointment, he's betrayed the conservative causes to which he supposedly represented, yes. The betrayal of conservative causes, it's not a crime. Should be, but it's not. So to the writer of this question, would you please send in why you believe he's compromised to the point that he would be forced to recuse himself?
Gloria says because he was part of the FISA debacle.
No. Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. But Gloria, I will find out. That is a good question. I will find out for you.
He chose the FISA judges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find out. I do not know that would have bearing on his position as the overseer of the tribe. First off, there would have to be 51 senators that would vote to object to him being the overseer. I don't know if that would happen in the first place.
Especially if he's
What else you got, man?
especially if he's compromised. Gigi said Roberts has made statements biased against Trump in the past.
Once again, let me find out. I don't like telling y'all something like that of that importance without me knowing.
Okay. Rodriguez asked about Klein's book. Do you remember the title of your friend Klein's book?
Ed Klein?
Yeah.
I do not, but he's written several books, so just look up Edward Klein, and I think you'll see a number of books, many of which have to do with Hillary and the Clintons. And Not in most of them.
Hazel asks, if their goal is to destroy this country, why would they care about the integrity of the office?
They don't care about the integrity of the office. That's the problem. They don't care about the integrity of the office. They don't care about our Constitution. They're going to get rid of it. That's what, in a way, is so humorous. I say humorous, that's not even a good way to characterize it, but they're going to get rid of the Constitution as fast as they can when they're elected. They're going to destroy it.
Should we pressure?
All of this pretense that they're doing it for the Constitution should better show you that they're doing just what they do. They're lying.
Should we be pressuring Romney?
We're not going to be able to pressure Romney.
He just got elected. He's got 5 more years. He's untouchable.
He's not one that we're going to be able to get to. You will know. We will tell you the ones we should pressure and can pressure. Hold your fire on that until we're ready.
And do you want us to keep making?
Coming very soon.
Oh, good. Now, a lot of us have had a hard time getting any calls through or picked up by anybody to any of Mitch McConnell's offices. We have one person here who did get through, and somebody asked, do you want us to keep making calls? Keep trying.
Absolutely. And it's working. As long as they're keeping that phone shut off, you know it's working. But once again, guys, he knows he's doing wrong. It's just not wrong to him. Destroying this country is not wrong to him. He's a part of the group. He is a part of the group that's involved in this coup to overthrow our president and our country. Mitch McConnell is.
Seems like there are very few who are not. So few who are not.
Very, very few.
And it's not enough to make.
Few and hard to find the ones that aren't.
Yeah.
That's why I say this is such a risk, setting it up to where 51 senators will determine whether witnesses can testify or any other things about the trial. 51 is going to be a number that they have lied and made all of us go to sleep thinking, don't worry about it. The Republicans control the Senate, so therefore everything's safe. It's not safe. But they wanted us to believe it so we wouldn't raise hell until it was too late.
Okay. Yeah. Brett has asked several times, so let me ask his question. If they throw Trump out, who do we vote for in November?
If they throw Trump out, to be honest, it won't. In my opinion, this is my opinion. If they're successful at throwing him out, it won't matter who we vote for. All is lost. All will be lost. Because whoever they put in his place, I assure you, will be a deep state Republican. I promise you that.
Yep.
What else? Look, I know that's not a pleasant thought, but I'm not here to smoke y'all up and give you pleasant thoughts. I'm not here to scare you. But I am here to tell you the truth as I see it. And as I told you, that's my opinion. I mean, I can't know for sure who they're going to pick, but I can tell you with, in my opinion, absolution, that whoever they would pick to replace him on the ticket, I promise you, will be a deep state Republican.
And Trump can't run again because once he's thrown out of office, he can't run for any office in the country anywhere for anything, right?
Right.
Because that's just the nature of the trial. Being thrown out after an impeachment is you're done.
If he is found guilty, that is tantamount as far as elections are concerned. Running again for anything, that's the same thing as being convicted of a felony. And if he gets thrown out, I assure you, he's not going to want any part of running. Whatever.
Okay, we don't have anything else on topic. Do you want any of the other questions?
You bet. You bet.
Okay, the first one came in was, why is the Fed not doing, or will the Fed do something about the homeless in California?
Will not. Will not. Are you talking about the federal government?
Yes.
Not the Federal Reserve, because they certainly won't. The federal government will not do anything for the homeless in California because they can't.
Okay, because that's a state matter, not a federal matter, right?
Yep.
Okay, the next question is about another California question. Why has the National Guard not been sent to help fight the California fires?
That one I don't know, because the governor of California is the one that would call them in. So explain to me why the governor of California would not call the National Guard to come fight the fires. That makes no sense, but it only makes sense when it's California.
Okay, back on topic. Can't Nadler and Schiff still be subpoenaed, and if they have to take it to the Supreme Court for a ruling, if it's disputed?
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying when I say it'll go to court. If they are subpoenaed, they're going to deny the subpoena based off of being one of the whatever prosecutors or whatever you call them, managers. And then it's up to the Republicans if they want to challenge their denial to honor the subpoena. They'll have to take it to court. It'll go to the lower federal court. Whatever the ruling is there, it'll go to the appellate court. And whatever the ruling is there, then it will go to the Supreme Court. And that will take time. Even under the fast track rules, it will take time. And of course that delays the whole trial. And then the trial just lingers and lingers and lingers. And then it's still going on come November this year.
There's a question about or a discussion here about, the cost of paying for all these trials. when all these appeals are happening on Trump's behalf, are we the taxpayers picking up the tab for that, or is he having to pay for that out of his?
We pay for every penny of it. We the taxpayers. We pay for every penny of the House inquiry, and we'll pay for every penny of the Senate trial, appeals and all. And let me assure you folks, the price tag will be massive, massive. What else?
Two questions about Virginia. Why is Trump silent on what's happening in Virginia, and what if they declare martial law?
Well, he's silent because, to be honest, he better be. At this time, he had better be quiet. Because if any trouble breaks out and he has lifted one finger, he will be blamed for it all. So he must remain quiet. Once it happens, if trouble breaks out, the governor of Virginia can and probably will declare martial law. And to be honest, there's nothing anybody can do about that if it's predicated by violence.
So what kind of prerogative does a governor have for declaring a state martial law? What? Pardon me?
He can do it. He can declare a form of martial law within the boundaries of the state to which he is governor. Now, what that means, what he determines to be the rules of martial law in the state, he will determine. But he has the power to call out the National Guard to deal with it. Now, a state version of martial law does not allow the state to violate the Constitution federally. So there are some things that a governor cannot put into effect in martial law within the state if it violates the constitutional rights of the people.
Okay.
But that's up for debate. For example, putting in restrictive gun laws are obviously in contrast to the right to keep and bear arms. So they have to be careful and write their state laws so that they wrap around federal laws. They're restricted, but at the same time, they don't go all the way and violate the federal statute. If that makes sense.
Okay. Any new updates on funding down ballot races? I think what you've said before stands.
Only that Soros is expanding his down ballot operation. He is taking on more sheriffs, more prosecutors, and in some states, he's adding judges.
Yeah. Can Schiff's committee or his personal or his staff and aides be called as witnesses because they know an awful lot of what he has said and done, behind closed doors and so on?
Well, to be honest, that's a good question. He might be able to void out a subpoena because he is a manager, or at least fight it. But I don't believe he would be able to legally challenge with any reasonable prospects of winning his staffers. I do not believe they would have the same potential protection, and I'm not saying he's protected, but they will claim it, at least enough to take it to court. But I don't believe his staff would have even enough legal challenge to take it to court. That's a good question. As a matter of fact, that's a good idea. And I will run it by the prosecutors.
Okay, I don't remember who asked that question, but thank you for
Thank
aiding.
you very much. That is one hell of an idea. Yeah, I know for a fact prosecutors have not thought of. What else?
Who are the puppet masters for Pelosi and Schiff?
Folks, I thought about it and thought about it and then thought about it some more. And I cannot tell you today who the puppet master is. I can't. It may very well be George Soros. He certainly is a contender. But for some reason, I believe the true puppet master is bigger than Soros. Now that's my opinion. As I've said, I've thought about it and thought about it, and I cannot pin down an answer. What you got?
Is there any chance it's Obama?
Not really, because puppet master was pulling strings before Obama's administration and during.
Okay. Okay, here's
But I
an
think Obama's been a puppet just like so many other high-profile people. In my opinion. What?
how do we persuade Mitch McConnell to do the right thing?
Well, first things first. Wait just a bit. We need to see for real what he's actually going to do. He still has wiggle room. He can do right. Now, a lot of whether or not he does right has to do with all of you calling his office. And yes, I know the phones are shut down most of the time, but you must keep trying. There'll be a time very soon when you'll be given an exact script and an exact schedule to call. Just hang on for that.
Claire asked, why isn't anyone talking about Pelosi's son being a criminal, just like Biden, Hunter?
So Claire, more people are talking about it, and more people are looking at it for real than you know. It's just not been made priorities. And for example, Biden and his son and Pelosi's son, although they are up the list pretty high, in the priorities, they do not meet the level of Comey, McCabe, and the cast of characters. So give him a little space on that. They're not walking away from it.
Do you think Trump's going to be okay, or are they stabbing him in the back? Well, you answered that yesterday.
Well, there's no doubt. There is no doubt they are stabbing him in the back. If they do anything other than, at this point, dismiss the articles of impeachment, they have indeed stabbed him in the back, because there are no rules by which McConnell is declaring today that are safe for President Trump. They're just not. It's dangerous.
Golden Runway, nobody's censoring you here, so if nobody's blocking you that I know of, so I'm certainly not. Does Mitch McConnell or any other of those people, are they here live monitoring the chat and what's being said here? Do you think anybody's here doing that?
I don't know that they're monitoring the chat, but I would not be surprised at all to find that they have somebody dedicated to listening to this program.
Yeah.
Because you hear things that by now y'all should know you don't hear on any other program. They want to know what I know. And they would love for me to mess up and give away how I know what I know, where I get it. And if they're listening now, don't worry, I will not.
Now, you've got a long habit of knowing how to be careful. And
let me say this, I'm not saying they're listening to every program every day, but I have strong reason to believe that they listen periodically during the week. And it's important for them to know what you know.
is Trump failing his hard base with his open doors legal immigration policies?
God, I don't know, folks. Whatever compromises he's making, knowing him, I can tell you that he only does it when he has to facilitate a bigger goal that he's working on. If I'm saying that right. Now, if his base is so easily swayed that any issue can drive them away from supporting him at a time like this, then we've all lost anyway. This is not a time for us to second guess President Trump on every decision, everything he's trying to do. We can't afford to do that now. Let's get him reelected. Once reelected, we can go at his individual policies and programs that we don't like. Then we can pick on them. But not now. If he loses, it's all lost anyway.
Do you want to say something about the 5 or 6 Senate Republicans who are insisting on a trial?
Well, just that there is a group, I think it's more than 5 or 6 now, that want a trial, and they are using the cover for this move to be that it's better for him to have the trial and be found innocent than it is to have his case dismissed. They're claiming that they just want the best for him, and it just looks better if he has the trial and is proven to not be guilty versus blocking the trial period. Now, there is merit in what they're saying. That is true. Of course, it looks better that he won, had the trial and won, than it does if he was just the beneficiary of the case being summarily dismissed. The problem is that would be in a perfect world. The world that they've tried to convince us that exists, which is get it to the Senate, the Republicans control the Senate, so there's absolutely nothing to worry about there. That's not true. It goes into a trial. Every Republican senator, every one of them becomes critical. And at any time, any one or more of them can vote wrong, and Trump is gone. The risk outweighs the benefit massively.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mary Ellen?
Pam's hoping that Trump's people will wipe the floor with the Democrat managers.
Well, so do I. But I need to tell you all that as it will be reported by the media, mainstream and Fox lets maybe 3 to 5 people on Fox. The media's going to play it up no matter how it goes, and it looks like he's getting stomped. Every day they will make it look like he's taking a licking. Now, I need to bring something up before we go. I've been able to stay on basically because of 1 or 2 or 3 people. Folks, I need y'all to help. It's not fair for one person to help me for all of us. So I need all of you to chip in, please, if you will, if you can. This is not a time for me to be out of the game. This is the worst time for that.
Oh, and I forgot to put up the banner.
I try to pay you back by giving you information that I hope helps you understand what's going on, helps you know a little bit ahead of time what's going on. I try to give you information to help you inform those around you what's going on. So I kind of feel like I have a right to ask for some help. So please do. Please. Mary, I'll tell you how I'm running out of breath.
All right, Larry. Thank you. The 5 or 6 Republicans, we know it's Collins, Murkowski, and Romney. Who would the other 3 or so, 2, 3 be?
I truly can't say. I mean, included in that list is going to be like people like Rand Paul. And I do not believe Rand Paul has a hate Trump position or attitude. It's just some of the things that he believes could hurt Trump.
Gloria's asking people to match her $5. That would be very helpful.
Yes, it would. And thank you, Gloria. Thank all of you for what you've done to help in the past and how much you've meant to me.
Yeah. All right, Larry.
We gotta fight. We have to fight now. But you got any other questions, or is that it?
Well, we have one that's a little too big that I think I can answer for you, but I'll let you take a stab at it. Will Trump survive? If so, how will his second term go? If not, how will the country look in the aftermath? So the aftermath is that we will be very quickly spun into communism. If he wins and gets into his second term, he can make changes in the judicial system so we can finally get some justice.
That is pretty much the answer. That pretty much is the answer. Not just fixing the judicial system, getting rid of a lot of federal judges and appointing more that are fair, honest. But if he gets a second term, folks, as I have tried to tell you, using the strategy the Democrats are using, which is if Trump is defeated, they believe that there's no way people would go in and vote Trump out and then turn around and vote for a Republican to go back into the Senate. So they think they'll get control of the Senate as well as the House and the presidency. And I'm telling you the same thing in reverse. If Trump wins, I find it hard to believe, especially after this impeachment debacle. I don't believe if Trump wins, people are going to vote to put Trump back in and then turn around and vote for a Democrat to go back in to the House. So hopefully his second term will be him as president and control of the House and the Senate. And he will make huge differences in his second term. Huge differences. And I might say lasting differences. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Help if you can at all. And with that, have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow, Mary Ellen. You got it, huh?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, as to the voter fraud, and the bigger issue is the election fraud. Voter fraud, remember, is when people vote multiple times, or illegals vote, or somebody votes in the wrong district and their vote is counted incorrect. It's not supposed to be counted and is. The election fraud is the bigger issue because they can rig the machines. There is a team working on that. And the reason they didn't do anything for 2018 is they needed more time. 2 years wasn't enough time to gather all the information they needed and find the, to do what needed to be done. To start in 2017 or 2018 to work on this committee, they just didn't have enough time to make it happen in 2018. They do intend to have a way to deal with this for the 2020 election this year. Remember, they are staying mum on what they are doing. There is a committee working on it. They're working very hard. They have very good people on the committee, and I'm going to, excuse me, sneeze. Sorry about that. They do have a committee that is working very diligently on the election fraud issue and the voter fraud issue. And they cannot let people know what they're doing, because as fast as anybody finds out what's happening, the opposition will play their tricks to counteract it. So, a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes that we never have privy to know. So, Golden, I'm not sure who you're calling the Black Robes Party. Anyhow, the fraud issue is, Larry said, is being addressed, and the plan was to have changes put in place for this election. Now, whether the changes are in place adequately for the primaries, that I don't know. And yes, thank God for Judicial Watch and all that they are doing to help with this. And, you know, for all I know, maybe they were intentionally part of the committee, but I'm throwing that out as a question. I have no clue, but thank God for what they have done and what they are continuing to do. I really appreciate it. Yes, Julie, I agree with you that fasting is a very important part of our prayer because we are in a battle. Don't forget, there was a boy who needed healing and the disciples could not heal. And they asked Jesus afterwards, after he healed the child. And he said, this kind does not, because it was demonic, he said, this kind does not go out without prayer and fasting. So I will add to what Julie is typing in here. This is a battle. This is a spiritual battle as well as a physical, political, economic. I mean, remember, Larry has said many times, war is fought on many levels. And the spiritual battle is a grave one. And our fasting is a very important thing to be participating in. I'm a member of a group that started fasting daily since October 1st, 2017. So it's been over 800 days straight. Now, we don't have every single member of our group fasting every single day, and there are some that fast the whole day. There are some that fast multiple days. There are people who fast a meal. But we are fasting some kind of meal. Even the Daniel fast, where he gave up wine, and that would be, I would imagine that would include sweets and other things like that. And he gave up wine and meat, and he only ate vegetables. So he did that for 21 days, Daniel and his 3 friends. So if that way, you're not giving up food completely, because there are people with medical issues that cannot completely give up. So, that's just an idea for fasting. There are plenty of YouTube videos on fasting to give you help on that. Ellen Dershowitz, Ellen kind of flip-flops from, this is my opinion, from what I have noticed. He's a Democrat, and yet there are times when he has definitely stood behind Trump with his opinion. So, I can't, it's what about him? I don't know. Okay. That's it for today. Thank you to everybody who has donated. And I am very aware, and Larry is very aware, that some can't do anything. And therefore, if you can't give financially, here again, remember, we're talking about war fought on many levels. And so if you cannot give, spend time that you would have ordinarily spent earning money that you would have liked to have given. Think about that and spend that amount of time in prayer, that Larry will have the time to finish the mission that he is on, that is coming from God. And he knows he's not done with his mission. He wants very much to finish his mission. And believe me, he fights for our freedom and for the blocking of communism with every breath he's got. And he will fight to his last breath. I know that for a fact, because I've seen him do that. And then he's come back from the dead multiple times. Often, he goes into cardiac arrest and they brought him back. It's been a while. It's been almost 2 years since the last episode I'm aware of. He has survived so many assassination attempts. I'm personally aware of at least 25 in 2018. Somebody else said it's more like 35. Larry hasn't admitted, because he doesn't count the numbers. He just fights for his life. I'm only aware of one last year, but that's the only one I was told about. Whether there were others, I don't know. But, there are things going on that jeopardize his life right now. And so, as he told, it was Jason, he told yesterday, wasn't it? That, one reason he has survived is because, look at all the information that they know he knows. And they have not ever sued him for defamation because they know if he goes to court, he will get discovery and there will be more coming out than even what Larry realizes. And there are very few people who know as much as Larry does. And believe me, Ed Klein got a lot of his information from Larry, as well as doing a lot of his own research on top of that. So Ed Klein's books are very, very good. And Ed Klein's a friend of Larry's, and he highly recommends Ed's books. Now, Larry's book, 28 Years to Nowhere. I took the book in the other room. I forgot to bring it back in here. 28 Years to Nowhere. You can get that on the website, nicholslive.com. You can get the Never Socialism t-shirt. You can, boy, there's something in the air in this corner of this room. I'm sorry. The t-shirt, Never Socialism. Thank you, JR. Thank you so much. The Never Socialism t-shirt is available on the website, nicholslive.com. Bumper stickers, Never Socialism at nicholslive.com. The merchandise page. Larry's CD is real. If you like the ballad style of music, Larry's voice is, oh shoot, it's kind of gravelly. He plays guitar. He kind of ad-libs with the music. We have, the rights. We paid for the rights for him to publish that CD. And so even though he, changes things up a little bit, because he plays by ear only. And he used to be backup to a lot of famous people in Nashville. And in fact, there was a time when he told me he owned the second largest recording studio in the nation. And that was one of the things that he lost. That was one of the things that he lost while he was in the fight for his reputation and the fight to stop President Bill Clinton. And don't forget, he was the one that there were 36 to 38 criminal cases that were tried against Bill Clinton, and Larry brought all but one that led to his impeachment trial. And they had the votes to have Bill Clinton thrown out of office. And there was one man who abstained from voting, and his wife was given a six-figure, back then that was a big salary, a six-figure salary to reward him from not voting. And Al Gore was brought in as the vice president to break the tie. So Bill Clinton promised to help Al Gore win. And then Bill Clinton refused to campaign for Al Gore and betrayed him. But, is that any surprise, I guess? We're live again tomorrow at the same time, 3 Eastern, 2 Central, and then figure that out the rest of the country, noon Pacific. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow live. So thanks for being here. When Larry gets the funds he needs, he can be here, and it doesn't matter how exhausted and hard it is for him to breathe and to keep talking. He wants to be here for you because he cares. So thanks for being here. Thanks for showing him how much you care too. And God bless you. I thank you as well. We'll talk tomorrow. Bye.